What's up, guys? How's everyone doing today? Johnny here. It is Thursday afternoon, 12:45. Late start for me today. Busy day on the coaching side of things. And we got a lot to get into. Breaking news. We know some fights are off. The Canada card got thrown into shambles. Albert Ramirez had be rushed to the hospital due to his appendix. So that fight is off. Ahmet Unal has been propelled into the main event spot there. So depending where your books are, check your sports books. We'll go over them. I know in Australia, the two I use, Sportsbet, is only showing 3 fights this weekend, but Bet365 has a bunch. The odds are pretty slim. Get access to our Discord. We just broke 350 VIP JSB insiders. The link is pinned right there in the comment section. It's a couple bucks a month. Join on YouTube, join on Patreon, whichever one you choose. You get access to our Discord. It's a community. It's not just boxing. It's not just betting. We have live streaming, networking. We have during the fights, the pay-per-view fights, the boys will stream it in there. Also for the Aussies, in a couple weeks, we're going to be launching our NRL channel. So the footy, I don't know if a lot of you guys know, but I'm a fan. I moved here in 2013. I'm a fan. My team's always terrible, but I'm a fan of the West Tigers. So I live near Leichhardt Oval, so in the North Shore, so where one of the teams plays. So I watch all the NRL games. I'm a try score prop better for the NRL, just to let you know. I like try scores. And last season was awesome. One of my clients is a Penrith Panther season ticket holder, so I go to the Penrith games a lot. And so that season starts, I think, the first week of March. So in a couple weeks, I'm also going to be launching an AFL channel. I have season tickets to the Sydney Swans. So I'm not just a boxing. The longer you're on the channel, you'll know I'm just a sports nerd. I'm a strength and conditioning coach. I'm a human performance teacher. So I like all sports. We're going to be launching in the Discord an AFL channel for the boys, an NRL channel for the boys, and then also baseball. Spring training starts soon, and the baseball season kicks off in April. So these are just sort of things to look forward to in the Discord. To join the Discord, click that link. It's a couple bucks a month. We'll get into it. You guys know where I stand with the main event in the UK. I feel in a weekend of boxing where there's not a lot of fights, why not play the dog? You know what I mean? So if anything, for me, I broke down, you guys could watch the Stats Don't Lie video, Figueroa versus Nick Ball. I gave you my reasoning. I'm going heavy on the dog, a guy that a lot of people have written off. And if anything, I could at least watch that fight with some drama, some entertainment. So I'm going to say what's up to all the boys. David Eister, OG to the channel, just better. Yeah, so if you don't know strategically, the way I like to bet is when I'm taking my underdogs, I pick, like Josh Kelly last week, his own ticket. Win or lose, bet heavy, win or lose, you have that on one ticket. We won, and so in that case, I build parlays around other things, okay? I never put one of my heavy dogs on all my parlays because, you run the risk of all your parlays being dusted. This week, because we don't have a lot of action, there's a few props that I will build a parlay around, and as our books open up, I'll post that parlay. I like the Figueroa and Ball fight to go over. I like the Figueroa and Ball fight to go the distance. I do like Brandon Figueroa as the dog on the money line. I'm a big fan of Manny Robles. I think Manny Robles, the boxing heads know who he is. You look at the camp, you look at the fighters that he produces and the fight style. Everybody, rightfully so. RGBA gets a lot of pub. But I think I put Manny Robles right up there. And this will be Brandon's second camp with Manny. The Joet fight was his first camp. I totally expect this second full camp with Manny, a proper game plan. I think Nick Ball is a perfect fighter to game plan for when we're talking about strategy. Look, at the world level, one guy's 29, one guy's 28. One guy's 5'8", 5'9", the other guy's 5'2". From an athletic perspective, from a skill set perspective, both guys are world-class fighters, right? The thing that separates sometimes at the world level, it's the small nuanced things within the sport. And sometimes a proper game plan put forth between a coach and his athlete that is executed by the athlete is all that matters sometimes in an outcome. And I'm leaning on that Figueroa Manny Robles connection. I'm leaning on the physicality of Brandon Figueroa. People are really shying away from the fact of how durable he is. People talk about that fight style, which is true. Over time, that fight style doesn't age too well, but it's not like he's 35 years old. It's not like we've seen him knocked out cold before. It's not like we've seen him unconscious before. It's not like we've seen him knocked out before. If you remove the name Stephen Fulton from his resume, Brandon is undefeated. Now, granted, there are arguments to say he hasn't looked good as of late. He's been sort of lackluster, signs of wear and tear. But when I think of signs and wear and tear from a fighter who fights like Brandon, I'm thinking about how many times have they been dropped, how many times have they missed weight, how many times have they been stopped, how many times, like all these sort of things. But Figueroa, I mean, it wasn't that long ago. This is the same guy who stole Louis. You know, he beat Louis Neary, took his O, stopped him. With Nick Ball's game plan, how he fights, how predictable it is, what he wants to do, and how experienced Figueroa is paired with Manny Robles, I'm confident. I'm very confident in a inspired, prepared, and classy performance from Figueroa. I think he's going to turn the clock back. I really do. I could see it happening. We've seen before Bronco Lara. Like when also one of the things I do when I break tape down and we're looking about, you know, outcomes, what the matchup is. We have a Mexican American traveling to the UK. We've seen it happen just in the last few years. There's literally a term for it. You know, sometimes the UK fighters don't handle certain styles that well. I've never been 100% sold on Nick Ball. It's not like for all the negative, for me to bet my money, for all the negative things that people talk about Brandon, I could say the same thing about Nick in terms of people are like Brandon hasn't looked good as of late. I mean, did you guys really think he looked amazing against Sam Goodman? Now, that is a testament to how good Sam is. Sam is a really good boxer, and Sam's going to fight a different kind of style of fight than Brandon. But Sam fought a more physical fight than people thought. People were taking Nick Ball to stop Sam Goodman. The scorecards were a bit, one judge had it 118 to 110. Another judge had it 115 to 113. There were exchanges in the pocket countering between Goodman and Ball, where it was Goodman who was giving just as good as he was getting, and he was a 122 pounder. He's a 5'6" guy coming up to 126 in his first fight at 26. Didn't have any time to acclimate to that weight class. He was preparing for the Inoue fight, and we know about, you know, a couple times he had to pull out due to cuts. And so Goodman wanted to take a fight, and he stepped up and fought Ball, and he fought him tough. Brandon Figueroa is a different animal. Different matchup, different style, bigger, more output, more volume, more power, more experience. I think Brandon is extremely live here. And if anything, from everything I've seen on the tape, I'm going into this weekend at least excited for that. So that's my take. I'm sticking with it. I'm standing 10 toes deep, just as I do every week. I'm standing on business out here, boy. Ramirez, Richards. That fight's off, player. Julius, that fight's canceled. No mas. No mas. Ramirez is in the hospital. Canceled. Yep, I'm just catching up to the boys. I'm goated. All the JSB insiders, boys, I appreciate you. We're floating already in the first 10 minutes between 40 and 70 in the live. It's going up and down, fluctuating. I appreciate you. It's a testament to our group. It's a testament to what we're doing here. All the insiders on. My boy Rob Lee. Shout out to Rob Lee. Shout out to Rob Lee's pops. So Rob and I are linked up on Instagram. He's a fighter. He's my age. We grew up in that same generation. And from a fitness perspective, we're both into our fitness. We both train. And, speaking for myself, me as a coach, I always look in terms of, as I get older as a man, as I'm going through life, getting older, I always like finding examples of older men in their 60s, 70s who are fit, who've taken care of themselves, who kind of you could use as an example of, hey, this is possible. We can age as men healthily like red wine and get better with age. And Rob sent me some photos of his pops when he was our age, and his pops was like, so shout out to Rob Lee. See, it is. I grew up in a place in Ohio where that narrative wasn't even spoken about. In my hometown, in Old Steel Town, it was like you graduate high school, you work in the steel mills, you get married out of out of high school, you have kids. By the time you're 30, you're old. By the time you're 40, your back hurts. By the time you're 50, you're on the way to the grave. And that was something I never wanted. I never adhered to. I never believed in that shit. And some people, unfortunately, I see it as an example now going into my 44th year of life when I go back to Youngstown every year. I see some of my buddies I grew up with who stayed, and it's some people believe that, and that you get caught in that trap. But shout out to Rob Lee and guys out there. The older you get, you could still get better with age. It's literally just a number. It's a mindset. Getting older is a mindset. What are the odds for punches thrown? We'll get to that in a second. James Drummond, what's up, James? Afternoon. Do you think Asenao and Mehmet Unal? I do. I'm a fan. I like Asenao. He got a little bit of craft to him. I've been featuring Mehmet Unal on our channel for about a year. He is, I talked about him. He Turkish kickboxer, fights out of Canada, always on these Eye of the Tiger cards. This was supposed to be at least his third fight on the undercard of Albert Ramirez. He could crack. He's an aggressive puncher. I think both guys handle business. Unfortunately, I'm not getting any odds. I just checked Bet3. Excuse me. I just checked Bet365, and they're not giving me odds on the Mehmet Unal knockout, but that's the one I was hunting. I'm hunting the Unal knockout. I thought Figueroa he is. Ultex, Figueroa, all the Figueroa, Brandon Figueroa, Omar Figueroa, on my no bet list. I've said all week, I'm breaking my rule. I think there's I'm breaking my rule, and if worst comes to worst, he proves my point on why he's on my no bet list. But every now and then, if you're a hopeless romantic, he might prove me wrong. There was a movie, one of my favorite Tom Cruise movies was called Vanilla Sky. It was a film he did with Penelope Cruz and Cameron Diaz. And there's a scene where Penelope Cruz tells Tom Cruise, every passing minute is another chance to turn it all around. And that's how I feel about Figueroa. I'm like, this is an opportunity for him to redeem himself. I believe in redemption. What other sport than boxing has these storylines that a guy could literally retire, lose his belt, retire from boxing for 10 years, disappear, come back, his body's changed, he's old, he fights another 10 years and then becomes a world champion when he's in his 40s. George Foreman. What other sport has these storylines? It's romantic. Brandon Figueroa at 29 is extremely capable of becoming a world champion at 126. I think this matchup suits him. I think a guy like Nick Ball, who's all gas, no brakes, who's 5'2", who doesn't do much technical boxing, who wants to be the aggressor, I think that suits perfectly for Figueroa. Nick Ball's not a big puncher. People are like, oh, they look at his knockout reel, but I think Figueroa, with his chin and his durability, he's going to be able to get it. I cannot wait to see these exchanges. I think this fight is, if anything, even if you're not betting on this fight, this is going to be a fun fight. Thoughts on Alejandro Gonzalez and Andrew Kane? Let's pull it up, big dog. Wow, the internet. You know what? While that's loading, I'll just have a look on my phone because my internet's been acting suspect. Give me a second. If you're in Australia right now, Sportsbet, Andrew Kane, this is right now. Sportsbet has Kane at a $1.13 favorite, and Alejandro at a 6-1 dog. Are you thinking he's live here, GMS? Does anybody think that Andrew Kane is in danger of getting upset? Castro, Magdaleno, Magsaya, Neri, Gonzalez, Brandon took out Murderers Road. Bro, what, my man? Why are people forgetting this? This is what I'm talking about. Like, what? I don't know if, and this is something that we deal with in boxing a lot, or narratives that are thrown around by talking heads. The narrative that Bakr Murtazaev is a boogeyman. That's a narrative. I don't believe in that shit. The narrative that like Brandon Figueroa, it wasn't that long ago that his name had, he's only lost 2 times. Even like, we're judging the kid on what he looked like against Stephen Fulton, a former world champion. Sometimes stylistically, guys just don't mesh well. Think about this. Based on what Teo looked like against Shakur, are people just going to say Teofimo's washed because Shakur made him look like that? They better not say Teo's washed. It's just that sometimes stylistically you run into a style that makes you look average. And Fulton versus Figueroa, that you could easily say that was the case, even though the first fight years ago was really close. Figueroa thought he won that fight. And then the second fight was way wider. And so based on how the second fight looked, people have used that disparity between the first one and the second one as an example or a sample size that Figueroa has faded, which I understand. I just don't believe it. Manny Jr. would tell me if Fig wasn't looking good. Dude, thank you. I asked on the live stream a couple days ago if anybody could reach out to the coaches, and Rob did. Rob reached out to Manny. He shared it in our Discord, the back and forth, and I believe him. Guys, these boys wouldn't travel to the UK across the pond to Liverpool in the winter. I don't know if you've ever been to the UK, but it's not year round. It's not, even in the summer, it's not the most sunny place. It's not the most I guess, aesthetically pleasing place. No, the architecture is nice. The history is nice. If you've never been to the UK, definitely go. But traveling there from, the western part of the US in February to Liverpool, gray, cold, and dreary, to go unprepared. These boys are prepared, man. These guys are going in there confident. Even watching Manny, if you follow Manny Robles, his coaching page and the gym that they train at, seeing the footage of Figueroa on the heavy bag, man, he's looking big. If my third device was working, we would play. I would play it. It's a picture of Figueroa hitting the heavy bag a couple weeks ago. And he almost looks like Xander Zayas. Check this out. Right here. At first glance, I thought this was Xander. It's just the hair. But even like the thickness in the shoulders and the back, he does not look like a 126-pounder. He looks switched on to me. He looks focused. This was 3 weeks ago. You see Manny in the background. I'm liking what I'm seeing. It's not a big sample size. It's not like we have hours of footage of him training. But from what I've seen, plus from what Rob shared with us in the Discord of the messages from Manny, there's no reason for me to doubt that Brandon's not going on fight night switched on, locked in. I've heard people pass this judge, oh, Brandon's not switched on. He has 1 foot in, 1 foot out. Doesn't look like a guy to me that has 1 foot in, 1 foot out. You mix that with him leaving his father, his longtime camp, his coach. He left for the Joet fight. Granted, he didn't look himself, but he got the W. And what does that tell you about a fighter's psyche making a change like that at this part of his career? He wants to make another run to become a world champion. He beats Joet, and now he gets his world title shot. He could see the light. I'm expecting a great performance. I'd be more shocked. I'd be more shocked if he came out and looked dull based on everything that I've seen. I think he's going to come out and look great. The no bet list turned into the bet against list. Magic Kush. Isn't that the beautiful part about humanity? We're malleable. As humans, I told you this before. You've heard me say this. I'm not married to any of my ideas. So I've always been the type of guy philosophically. I love a good conversation. I love speaking about, I don't get too political here, but I love speaking about philosophy, history, politics, and I'm always open-minded enough to listen to other people's perspectives. So because of that, if I have an opinion on something, that doesn't mean that over time, with research and insight and sort of, thought, that I could change my mind. I feel with this matchup, Figueroa, he's on my bet list, and with the odds, I think he's live. Sup, Johnny? Got ball confident for the W. Good boy, Mike. Get it. Think we've seen the best of Fig and in close ball with more damaging punches. Interested in your take. Bautista Oliveira too close to bet for me. Yeah, I put that up. I like Mario Bautista. I like his wrestling. I like his grappling. I like his mindset. I think Oliveira is flashier. He's trickier. I think Bautista is going to be a little bit more. I like his discipline in the fight, where the fight takes place. I think Batista's fight IQ is a little bit higher, and he knows what he has to do, his game plan. I've watched him execute since he broke into the UFC for the last 5 years. I've watched him build himself to the biggest fights, start from the bottom. I like the kid's devotion. I like how switched he on. I like his effort, and I like the energy he fights with. So I'm actually leaning Bautista in that. I'm breaking that fight down. I'm doing my Stats Done live video on that fight is coming out tomorrow. That's a UFC fight. Guys, on our Patreon and the YouTube, I gave you guys my UFC parlay. It's a 4-leg UFC parlay. Hey, I canceled my membership, but still got charged. You got it, Chiva. Hi. Yeah, you have to do that yourself on YouTube. So I'm not. Once you guys subscribe on YouTube, that's you on Google, brother. Hopefully, you find your way. I'm so glad One Time finally has a date, 28th. Chop Timber. How you guys seeing that? How do you guys see? What's your take on Thurman versus Seb? Canceled. I do saunas 3 times a week? That's my sauna. So this is Figueroa and ball. About what would you say? 4 inches, 5 inches? Canceled. What do you got? What's your take on Fedora versus Thurman? How do you guys see this one going? I'm interested. I'm still not convinced where I'm going to go with this. There's cases for both sides here. I'm interested what you guys think on that fight. Nick Ball looked good versus Goodman, 184. Goodman overachieved that fight. You think Ball? Yeah, I'm talking about though the how the fight looked though. He was supposed to steamroll. Goodman was smaller, tinier, less experienced. Nick Ball was supposed to steamroll Goodman. I thought Goodman fought really well. I mean 8-4, maybe 7. I had a 7-5. I don't think I think Goodman's a good boxer. Oliveira, greater firepower, faster reflex, chaotic fight style could be the kryptonite. True. But I think with that style, the great reflexes, athletic, very creative. I think sometimes that style, though, leaves a lot of holes when you're fighting a grappling heavy wrestler, because all they need to do is shoot for that double and get around your waist. And once that happens and Batista starts going through the gears, he's a lot to deal with, man. It's a fun fight. I'm a fan of Batista and both guys. There's a couple fights on that card that I like. I put the parlay, like I said, it's up on our YouTube and Patreon. Every fight Nick Ball has to overcome the biggest disadvantage, which is the size. 5 title fights in 17 months is taxing as well. This is a great point. The volume. He's 28 years old. I mean, it's another value point no one's talking about. Everybody's talking about Figueroa and the work he's put in his career. But this is a great stat to talk about Nick Ball as well. Small hands, small frame, 5'2". These guy fights a really aggressive style, gets hit a lot, hits a lot. These guys leave a little piece of them in the ring every fight. They're fighting in the UK. Brandon is not live, man. I really hope your follows Don. Bet heavy on your tip. I really hope your follows. Oh, Kaboozy Media. Thank you for hoping. But I'm going to quote one of my favorite philosophers. Hope is a beggar. Fig decision, Medina knockout, Kane decision. Yeah, I do like I do like the Medina knockout. I got Fig on the money line on a separate ticket, and I'm gonna do Medina knockout. Bet365 is giving me those odds, and I still have to do a little bit more tape on Kane because I'm hearing from some people that that's a close fight. Donnie, are you excited for Zuffa in Mexico? Who's headlining that? What's the name of the song you use in your video? Oh, we made that. So I used to play in a reggae. So I, spent about 5 years writing music in a reggae band in Long Beach, California. So one of my good mates makes music. So we made that. Thank you. I'm glad you like it. Do you think Medina could get the knockout? I think it's possible. I mean, the odds are kind of shit for the knockout, right? It's only $1.66, I think. $1.65. It's not even plus money, so that's where they're trending against Curiel. Curiel's only been stopped once. 6 losses, I think it's been stopped once. Rob Lee, 40 in the Midwest is like 65 in SoCal. Something to do with the sun and ocean. 40 in the Midwest is like 60. Well, I grew up in the Midwest, and I lived in SoCal for my whole 20s. So there is a double-edged sword, though, in SoCal, too, though, because I have friends that, born and raised in Huntington Beach, and they grew up surfing, and their skin, they look 10 years older than me because they didn't take care of their skin because they were in the sun the entire time. And so you do have that element. But then in Ohio, those same guys, for other reasons, snows 9 months out of the year, drinking, doing bags, smoking weed for 25 years, working in a steel mill, and their skin is like leather and green. And so, yeah, I would much rather take the sun and sea, though, the sun and salt water mixed with the active lifestyle. Yeah, the SoCal lifestyle, at least I lived there from 2004 to 2011. Some of the best years of my life. You got any thoughts on Brad Strand fight? Not yet. I got to do more. I don't like the odds on that fight. Guys, I mean, emotionally, I'm still a little bit spent from last weekend. We spent a lot of energy with film study, with videos, with live streams. So when I'm looking at the paper this weekend, I'll give you my read on the Brad Strand fight, but I'm not emotionally invested in it. Figueroa, the heartbreaker for a reason. He's right. Young Money, how are you? I'm doing excellent, brother. Hopefully you're well. Young Money, K6Es. Appreciate you, player. I'm goated, T-Man. I got caned by knockout or TKO. Yeah, I'm flirting. I'm flirting with that too. I like your read on that. Appreciate the super chat. However you guys could support me. Thank you, goated. Super chat, like this video, subscribe, get in our Discord. Anything, even commenting helps out. Helps out with the algorithm. I like that you guys don't have to agree with me. Somebody in the chat earlier said, hopefully your followers don't listen to you. I don't do this for people to listen to me, guy. Like my goal isn't my goal. We're doing this as if you guys and we're hanging out talking about our favorite sport in the world. Best friends growing up, they don't agree on everything. You wouldn't be best friends with somebody, close friends with somebody if you agreed with them on everything. So like I grew up in a culture of my close mates, my brothers. You disagree. So I don't know how other channels who do what I do, whether they're talking boxing, whether they're talking about football, whatever. My goal isn't for people to listen to everything I say. I want you guys to challenge. I want you to have your own thoughts. Some of the guys that I've built relationships with from this live stream have been because we debate and we disagree. So I think through that discourse, this is how you build relationships with people. I'm not sitting here telling you, take all your money and listen to me. That's on you. We're all grown ass men. You take what I say and then you do your own reasoning. Sometimes I'm right, sometimes I'm wrong. Do you worry that if a close fight? Of course. Yeah, I do. But I, I'm I'm banking on the fact that Figgy's gonna have a throwback performance. I can see it. I can see it. I'm banking. Did you watch I shared the video on my Instagram of Josh Kelly fight week doing an interview, and he was talking about what he saw. He was like, I could see it. He was like, I could see Murtaza being over aggressive. I could see myself catching him, and I saw it too. That's why we picked him. I could see Brandon Figueroa having a career redefining performance. I'm expecting him to look sharp, strong, durable, that output, that Mexican output, body punch. I think it's going to be body punching. So when ball starts cooking, he's throwing these punches here, elbows high. I could just see Fig with the bladed bang, 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 bang. So I see a path to victory for Figueroa. That's good shape for Fig. The super chat boys, you guys are beasts. Thank you again, Goated. I got Fig by decision. Yes, sir. Here's my guy. Now we have to bet Figueroa. Now we have to bet Figueroa because Johnny the nimble hooded thief has rigged the bout. What is the nimble hooded thief? Where do you get these nicknames at? I've never stole anything in my life, man. It's interesting having to deal with people online who hide behind screen names calling me names like thieves. I'm one of the most ethical guys you'd ever meet. I would like to see Brandon Figueroa use the ring a bit more. Keys to victory: stay on the inside and long range. Don't get caught in the middle. Balls, explosive punches, the crowd. Yes. So I think that, and this is where Coach Manny Robles comes into play. This is the game plan I was talking about. Now, we want to see Brandon in the pocket because he does good work in the pocket. We just don't want him to stay in the pocket too long. As long as Brandon could depict when those exchanges happen and how often they happen, how he could do that is by using his range. Use the jab. Throw the freaking jab, man. We've seen footage. We've watched the kid come up. We know he has power. Throw the backhand. Set the jab. Boom. Sit down on that and then lean in. You don't always have to, feint, and then fight there the whole time. I think sometimes that's a sign of a disinterested guy. When, they go into airplane mode and their comfort zone is fighting in the pocket and strategies thrown out the window. I think this is one of the reasons he left his camp, to get a sort of a restart on that sort of part of the game, the psychology part of the game, the setups. I could see Brandon picking and choosing his spots, fighting at range, finding an opening, popping that jab, then cutting the distance, fight him in the pocket, get ball to over punch, get ball to overextend, counter him to the body, exit, walk him onto something strong on the backhand. I could see that happening. Figueroa, he could box. I can't see Thurman getting inside. He's gonna have to, and that's gonna be the game within the game. He's definitely gonna have to. He's gonna have to take risks. And knowing Thurman, I just don't know how much athleticism is still there at 37. If it's the Thurman of 27, there's a lot of ifs with boxing, man. Because when athletic, him in his prime, he could get there. He could definitely get there. He could cause some issue. He could get past that range. Faster, more athletic, his angles, his feints, his setups, punches from awkward angles, all that good stuff. He changes speed on his punches. It's just the inactivity, man. I mean, his only loss is to Manny. People sleep on Keith Thurman. This is a tough dude. He's still, everything I've seen, he still believes in himself. Unless we get an example of Fight Night, and all of a sudden we see this slower, flat-footed Keith, whose sort of like neurology is off and his central nervous system's a bit fried. But I'm interested to see him in fight week. I'm interested to see him doing his media shakedown, to see what his feet look like, to see what his responses look like, his reflexes. It's all going to come down to that sort of stuff. Batista all the way. He got a and Ziggy. This is what I'm leaning on, especially when you mix that gas tank, high fight IQ with his style, with that gritty wrestling, grappling style, relentless, determined. He's a really tough guy. For me, he's a really tough guy to not cheer for. I love a fighter who fights like that. Obviously, I like flashy strikers. That's by nature. But from the psychological perspective, a guy like Batista, he just fights like he's been an underdog his entire life. I like that chip on his shoulder. And in his opponent, he fights like he's a star. So that's something to pay attention to. Right now, I'm leaning no distance. I like it. The odds are good there. I could see, a lot of people were thinking that Ball's going to catch Brandon with his chin high. It could happen. The thing is that we've never seen, Brandon's never been stopped. I've seen Nick wobbled once or twice. I'm pretty sure. Has Brandon ever been to the canvas? I would pick Thurman, higher IQ and one-shot power. Yeah, JP. I'm still torn with this, right? Because then again, it's like, we're looking at a guy in Seb who's at that stage in his career, young, mid-20s. He keeps adding these little things to his game. He keeps figuring out range and distance and where to punch and how to punch and, smothering his work a bit less. Likes to be in the pocket, though. Fun fighter. He's a fun fighter. He's not just a tall dude. Seb Fundora is fun. And so this is a very fun matchup. And I'm still kind of torn on where I'm leaning. From the presser today, I think Keith is ready for another title. I know he's a talker. Bro, and and like being Aussie, watching how Keith, Brock should have never been in the ring with him. Like somebody should go to prison. Somebody should go to prison for putting Brock in the ring with Keith Thurman, man. So hopefully, and poor Brock, man. Brock's such a good, a good dude. This kid had the whole world. Remember that Matchroom deal? He was supposed to be the guy, and Liam Parle was like, nope, give me all of that. God damn it. Just like I compare what happened to Brock, where his career trajectory was going. He had Fennec in his corner. He had looks like a model, built, all the boxes are getting ticked. In Matchroom, Eddie Hearn's involved, and Liam Parle comes in and is like, hell no, you must have forgot about me. That sort of change in trajectory with Brock, it's almost like what happened to, it's going to be tough for, it's unfortunate. I think a lot of people in Australian domestic boxing thought they had one with Brock Jarvis, just because, how he was presented to us. For him to be put in the ring with Keith Thurman, though, as they did, jail sentence. Box somebody up, because somebody got paid knowing damn well Brock should have never been in the ring with Keith. We still good. Yo, if you catch Shorty at the box spot, you still good. They haven't announced the card, but I know Michelle Rodriguez wanted to rematch Omar Chavez on it. Nice. Or fight Walsh. Okay, I'll keep my eyes on it, Donnie. Shout out to the chat. He's talking about Zuffa Mexico. It's going to be a hell of a card. That last card was fun, guys. That last Zuffa card was real fun. King of Fitness, Seattle went and took many Patriots out. Seattle went and took many Patriots out. I'm here. I told you my Super Bowl. I'm doing a Super Bowl prop parlay built around Jackson Smith and Jigba, Ohio State Buckeye right here. So I'm taking Jackson Smith and Jigba to score over 7 receptions, over 100 yards. Let's go. What about Thursday and Friday fights? So there's fights tomorrow. We know the main event in Canada was called off. Albert Ramirez, appendix issues. I think he might have had to have his appendix removed. And Ahmet Unal, Turkish guy who could crack, was elevated to the main event. And if wherever you are in the world, check your books. Down here in Australia, Sportsbet is only offering 3 fights, but Bet365 has all of them. Tomorrow morning's live stream, right now, because we're not getting props, tomorrow morning's live stream, I'll be going over it with the boys. If you're in the Discord on our Patreon, I've given you guys 3 tickets already. You guys have my upset of the week. You have my 4-leg UFC parlay. And then you also have my prop of the week. Those are live. That's 3 tickets so far for a fight weekend that really isn't that, not a lot going on. But we're going to find our victories, 100%. Do you have any prop bets for tomorrow? Not yet. Not yet. So tomorrow we'll get you. I got you. I was with you on Kelly upsetting Murzaila, but you're dead wrong about Ball. Probably, Deuce. Probably. Can't be right about all of them. When I read Dead Wrong, do you guys remember the YouTube video that went viral? When I saw a white girl running a black man's arms, dead giveaway. We ate ribs with this dude. That dude was from Cleveland, Ohio. The bus driver who was abducting people, man. We ate ribs with this dude. Dead giveaway. Ball versus Ford was all I needed to see. Yes, sir. Ball will crush Figgy. Fig is going to walk right into the pocket where Ball wants to fight. How could you possibly pick fights after watching his last fight? Manny Robles. Brandon can win if he pressures and has a dog in him. Ball's also 5'2", but I always feel nervous betting against an undefeated fighter. You remove the 2 fights against... If Brandon Figueroa never fought Stephen Fulton, he would also be undefeated. Figueroa has better footwork. I think Figueroa does a lot of things well. Ball's footwork's terrible from a technical perspective. Day 1 of Boxing 101, learning to box. You never cross your feet. Nick Ball runs at you. He runs at you throwing hooks like this. I'm like, it's tough for me to get behind. It's tough for me to get behind a technical guy. He's dirty in there. He headbutts. He'll throw elbows. He throws low kick. He might shoot for a double leg. I think Figgy got this. Figueroa's. This is a thing. So everybody thinks that Ball at 5'2", who doesn't not a puncher, small hands, not a one-punch guy, he drowns people. They think that all of a sudden Brandon Figueroa, who's never been wobbled, never been hurt, never been stopped, is going to get stopped against Nick Ball. I doubt that. I think people are going to be like, damn, Johnny. Damn, how did you know that one? Damn, Johnny, I was wrong about that one too. That's 5 weeks in a row, Johnny, you picked the dog. Damn. Great question. I'm a diehard Cavs fan. You know that. Look, I could tell you the starting lineup from 1994. I was 12 in 1994. I remember the Cavs in 1989 when I was 7. Game 5, Richfield Coliseum. Before Jordan was Jordan, he hit that shot over Craig Elo. It was the first time I cried in front of my dad, and I had to go into the kitchen and cry under the dinner table so he wouldn't see me. I was 7. And so I've watched every single Cavs game since I was a boy. I remember they drafted Darius Garland in 2019. I remember the 2021 season. He carried us. They built the team around Darius Garland. He was a key center point. It's just that, health is a real thing. Timing is a real thing. These are billion-dollar companies. These people want championships. Dan Gilbert ain't playing. These people want championships. So from that perspective, I'm glad, you got to move on. I think right now, I kind of question getting rid of our wingman. We got rid of our swingman, DeAndre Hunter, like last week, in terms of filling a gap. Bringing in a guy like Harden will take some of the scoring pressure off of D. Mitch, which is good. It's going to be interesting to see what they're going to do. I think Jared Allen is. We just need Jared Allen to fucking play big, and we need Evan Mobley to play big. In the last few seasons in the playoffs, a city such as Cleveland that's known for being tough, we got exposed as being soft. We need some meanness on that squad. I wish we would have. We need to find a guy. I wish we would have got a guy like there aren't many of them in this modern era of the NBA, but a guy sort of like a physical sort of bully, like a Draymond type. We need that's kind of a missing piece we need on that team. Gonzo is locking JSN down. We'll see. Oh, hey, Gonzo's a dog though. My man's a beast. That's gonna be a great matchup. I think JSN's gonna ball out though. OHIO. Ball only has 13 knockouts out of 20. He's not a big puncher, and a lot of his stoppages come from volume. What do you think about Demetrius? And I think he's a good prospect. From what I've seen, I need to see more. The word prospect, he's a prospect, and I think we'll see when they level up. Matchmaking is really important at this stage of his career. For a guy like Asenel, having Ramirez pull out is great for him because he gets to be featured a bit more. Nick Ball reminds me of Pitbull Cruz. I can see it. Suggs next up. They're about to sign a lot of boxers over there. Nice. Fig might be the lock of the week. The lock of the week, bro? We don't believe in locks around here. We'll keep him as our dog of the week. Let's not get it twisted. I love how the boxing fandom online though. When you build a narrative, you do your film study, you put it all out there for an underdog, and then the people come at you like if the underdog loses, that you pick the 9-1 favorite who lost. It's interesting. Zufa. Yep, I feel you. I know what you're saying. One of my good friends played on the same AAU team as Don D. Mitch. Dog. D. Mitch is a dog. Great ball player. I don't know where I stand, though, with him being named in the Epstein files, though. Did you guys see that? That's something we don't talk. Something that you guys don't know about me, boy, is that I always keep it boxing, but I go down a lot of rabbit holes in my free time about a lot of stuff. So I was kind of shocked to see D. Mitch's name showing up on the Epstein files, on the airplane logs. But I think a lot of that had to do with Epstein was, we know his MO. He would bribe scientists, athletes, politicians, promise them parties with celebrities, and then film everything on the island, and then use those tapes as bribery. It's an age-old con for people in positions of power, bribery. But D. Mitch, everything he does with the community, and how he acts and interacts within the city of Cleveland, how he's always carried himself. I bet you it was just one of these things where a couple NBA stars, hey, do you want to fly to this billionaire's island? They're doing some sort of gala. I'm hoping it was that sort of thing. He doesn't seem like a seedy sort of deviant like a lot of these other people. Like, he doesn't seem like a P. Diddy type, if you ask me. Who do you want to see Shakur fight next? Well, Shakur just got stripped at 135. We know that. So it looks like because from the WBC, because he didn't want to pay Mauro Sulaiman $100,000, rightfully so, which is crazy. I think a lot of people on our chat are educated enough to know that world champions have to pay the belt holders. You pay the promotion. So the WBC, WBA, IBF, etc. The WBC, Mauro Sulaiman, $100K. He just fought 7 months ago and they strip him. And then you look at what the WBC did, handling Canelo and given in all the years that they allowed him to keep the belt without him defending Benavidez. And then after 7 months of Shakur, they do that. So I like Shakur at 140. I think he filled out nicely at 140. I think there's matchups at 140 that are interesting. Who would I like to see him fight? I want to see him fight Devin. I'd like to see the Devinhaney fight. I'd like to see. Look, I'm a hopeless romantic. I want to see them all fight. I wonder what he would look like against Hitchens. I wonder what he would look like against Gary Antoine Russell. I want to see him against Dalton Smith. Dalton Smith, that would be a fun matchup. They've sparred together a lot. I know that Shakur and Dalton are tight. Looking back, I remember like a year or two ago, Shakur gave an interview and he was co-signing on how good Dalton Smith was. And I totally forgot about that going into the Subaru Matias fight. I totally forgot about that this was Dalton Smith. It's kind of like Aaron McKenna Aaron McKenna is the kid who spent multiple fight camps with Terence Crawford and, sparring with Lester Martinez down at B&B with Bomac. And when McKenna fought last, like a year ago against Beefy, and he was like a 2-1 dog, we picked him. And my reasoning for picking him was because I heard the way Bomac was speaking about him. And I was kind of salty that I forgot Shakur was co-signing how good Dalton was. I'd like to see those fights. Well, Shock is a $130. I guess they could go to 35. Yeah, it's a good fight. Who do you have between Andy Hiroka and GAR off the cuff? I like both guys. I'm taking GAR is one of my favorite fighters. It's one of my favorite fight styles. I think he's super underrated. I like the adjustment he made from I think the Alberto Puello fight was a total miscalculation on his end in terms of his energy system, in terms of his output. He jumped off to a huge lead and then he started coasting. He's anybody with the last name Russell is traditionally inactive. So, he had that long gap in between fights. Fights Alberto Puello, a tough, slick southpaw, jumps out to a quick start, and then starts kind of just fighting Puello's fight. I still kind of had I edged GAR. I gave that fight to him by a round, but they gave it to Puello. And then just watching what Ryo just looked like in his last fight last weekend, and what GAR did to Ryo, who's a tough kid. I think Gary Antoine Russell's special. I don't think there's many people in the world who beat him. So I'm definitely taking Gary Antoine Russell against Hiroka. Hiroka is a brave Japanese style fighter who's going to be there, is going to exchange with Gary. I think this style matchup is tailor made for a firefight. Shakur versus Lamont Roach. I think there's levels. I think Shakur. I like Lamont. He showed us his medal, but I think Shakur is a little bit. I think Shakur's a level above, man. I've always said this. McKenna was the favorite. Was he the favorite? Was it even? How did we figure that out? I swear we had Aaron McKenna plus money. Either way, how could we figure that out? Was Aaron McKenna the favorite against Liam? I'm high on Aaron McKenna, man. I want to see him more active. Maybe I got plus money on the outcome. McKenna was the betting favorite over Liam with odds around minus 183 to plus 210. Despite being the younger fighter, odds makers favored the undefeated 25-year-old. I knew there was a lot of questions going back and forth. When I broke you can check the video I did. I broke that fight down, and in the comment section, a lot of people thought we were crazy taking McKenna. Does Dalton Smith have a chance against Puello? I think he does. Look, Dalton Smith proved to me that kid is tough as nails, brave, determined. I love how brave he was. That was my biggest take-home point. I didn't expect Dalton to be that brave against Matias. Like everything that Matias did, how he operates, he always does that. It's just that I think even Matias was shocked with how sharp Dalton's backhand was and how determined every time. You could totally see that's what they drilled in their fight camp prep was every time Subriel fires, give him his receipts. Don't let Subriel get off without giving him a change. And you could see it. He had drilled that. And the two shots that started, the ending for Matias was the countering, the backhand. And once it hit him clean, you get hit with two clean. I didn't see that backhand against Jermaine Matthew Germain. I didn't see that backhand. And, part of it probably had to do because Matthew Germain was using the entire ring and really wasn't engaging in that sort of firefight that Matias fought him. And that was a misread on my end. Looking back, hindsight's always 20/20. And this is where we make adjustments as guys who break down fights and guys who predict outcomes is, looking back, it's like, yeah, Matthew Germain fought it. Matthew Germain was fighting to survive. It's hard to look good against a guy who's fighting to survive versus, you fight a guy who's going to fight you in a firefight who has a higher artillery. That was obviously Dalton Smith. And so for future Dalton Smith opponents, and that's going to be interesting to watch to see who adheres to that game plan. I think Alberto Puello, a guy who's going to use the entire ring, who's slicker, I think that fight's going to look a lot different than Dalton Smith versus Subaru Matias. Guys, I got to run. You be good.